Not that. I know I'm stealing your aura right now, but just like 1 second.
You know what? Sure, why not?
Bro, I swear to God, I have no idea what's happening right now.
Literally, I'm just gonna start.
You know what? Do what you gotta do.
Okay, cool. I start a couple seconds.
Ooh, Lord, and trouble so hard. Ooh, Lord, trouble so hard. Don't nobody know my trouble but God. Don't nobody know my trouble but God.
On July 18, 2025, the community came together for a holy day of Parents' Day was preceded by paragraph commentary on scholarship and weeks after liberation across the state about the exact forum which the prayers should take place in order to develop more godly attitudes and values. After explaining the democratic vote, the community prayed to God requested topic which made the United States federal government should say to claim and break march for work in the United States. The justification for the main topic was justified to the idea that a liberal topic educated made about power limit would not be limited. In 1982, time of our comfort zone. It is now the conclusion of the topic. We have been in liberal education for about 8 months now. You should think to yourself, what has the topic gotten the mayor said about their comfort zone? This is because debate has not stepped out that comfort zone one bit. For the past 8 months, the topic innovation has been an all-time low. Policy manager at the state federal workers after most of the season, with only our new arguments being the constructive debate that is already occupied with the nuclear war, economic decline, and more, that haven't even begun to get to the question of power and labor that makes the topic promise and engage with us fully for it by building more nuance and metaphysical parts of labor that the topic seems to feel uncomfortable by. This is not a bug, rather is a feature of the racial contract where European enlightenment embraced the figure of the human in order to create anti-black value systems and political systems where the existing whiteness ends existence. This spiritual and cosmic will is what we call now white nihilism, which is the starting foundation of the universe and value itself that comes to one. European thoughts for the human white and human the system of white versus value alongside anti-energy Dorothy Bradley my position. Black the white universe X geographical fear black house to go nothing be for adopting be not having black body which against white constantly confirm divide over projections. And labor and power is coherent to anti-black. This means that are grounded in European humanism, white consciousness have become infected as power turns into racial responsibility, refers to black people to suffer to engage in the middle of economic pleasures. This fills every economy and workplace from debate to the union, liberal inclusion and form of racial listeners that authorize the ability to engage racial fantasies, branding non-black people with psychological wages and black people with a badge of inferiority to end blackness to the guys different as well as we do liberal politics to make liberal black community for inclusion regular and American racial policies to make white liberals and also pleasure the surface to make white liberals to react on an act of leisure government do something to like and the race to get away from copying from class organizations right like the worker that system reacting when they want to improve class organization by systems and challenge workers and outline individuals from the topic that give courage to access from the transformation and racial related economic racial related as well as political copy take away look at the common local person white and public cycle white workers the rest has to be the right day we can talk provide wheels that work to live in the economic field and the capital system and operate the little bit yourself certainly more than black and racial related imagine we already unfair benefits and then we can unity and really is something not right to ready to bring to the long as not all the white time the white worker the cycle way to black people bad if you already get like fancy resort how you let's say that look at white invite in the back and the way you really guys white victim or war black and more like who identity fancy and white consider let's act the white all day from the time really and black people is mental this missing by black and identity part of the respectful class really if you for the universal it's such a different units for like suffering black folks and normally the modes of engagement with debate are undergirded by low reason which requires niggas to liquidate themselves which is the same as the rest of the world that requires black people to become terraformed for being human interest making Fast level that's eventually possibly a statement that there is a difference of war than two framework of debate critic. I believe that debate because the framework is stretched but the debate respect simply policy types that have white civilian policy confidence and constant impact of variable policy to be institutionally unimagined by impact outside of violence face of future policy making decisions white the impact inside of mistake normal means some cover institutionally engaged niggas nobody can have a multiple level is how to do it how niggas like live and die for each other and aspect of the will limit scripture perform by that's report. People like Ed attempts to cohere a universal model of engagement reproduces the master slave style dictating a drive to mastery. This reproduces child safety maintains black inhumanity and justice we want black slave style did personal confidence learning after knowledge and other improved their design recognition and includes they must match the attain the truth and attempt master rules not a very regulation or equal but then over the figure and like logical activities of labor are unable to listen to something universal directed and insane. This is necessary for anything consciously causing an aspect is those with any consciousness. This means black people meant to be enslaved to black. This thing was upon the white house ideas to situate like humanity as conscious there no share value between black white race and rights of the black people and black the firm is acting from individually and the black races master slave conflict and black living for this that equates white knowledge and conception white desire to eradicate black and white talking about black knowledge competition white knowledge value for the recognition black and social value both black over black LC the previous of the job questioning white community that demand to say the first thing and so when Jordan Mason tries to liquidate blackness do a thing of that and people this work. That's episode 2 of Black Man, and we're going to represent you, Duncan, and the anti-war, this white woman, right under the button, and then come on, make her put the name right, the best like the back of the application, turning this black before, when they for the back of the form, the black human, just the human and animation black and the nigga affected with the sight of the effect of black lives, in order to make sense of all black lives, and the black people are how they believe in all their educated civil, they won't become niggas, the niggas ain't shit, and black people believe are really for most, the actual features of the DNC, niggas are the shadow figures of black people, the process of niggalidation, not just the black criminality, niggalidation, the process, second moments, black lives, or there's that side of being proper humanity, and the way you're rolling black location, like radio, very secure opposition, what most people for and like exactly how actually living people for recognize there are black people there, niggas in different types of experience, but they probably back. And strong black nihilism and black noise have historically moved the needle involved racial progress and debate from believable using metaphorical interpretation of the topic to toxic reading black liberation theology and like hardness of affirm black instead of practicing taking what it means to have debates about debate and communities that inhabit spaces from Emporio, Rutgers, Wick, and other small schools. You get your critical argumentation and united crowd to show them that critical behavior is just an intellectual black living policy schools creating debate that start conversations that the world is anti-black. Even in the face of this black nihilism, doing so for reasons to be certain participation at the dinner table. The topic starts off with a conversation about drinking collective bargaining rights workers in the United States, but refuses to debate about drinking collective bargaining rights workers in this space. The headline union of the PRL and other firm teams have actually refused to listen to the demands of black critical debaters and are called to engage in critical argument to a substantive manner, rather than reading TSG as ground for pleading black debaters. Multiple examples prove bigger point inflation response to Jubilee and other belief who were awarded Kentucky arguments about racism being distorted into microaggression, teens refusing secondary track for black critical debaters when acts of racism and equitation derive from big policy focused schools, refusing to come to CEDA and instead going to NEA, and the silly aspects about the Fed paradox are all examples of how workers in the union of debate still refuse to show up for black and brown debaters to gain libidinal psychological wages of whiteness and through balance, validation, and control of debate at the workplace. So in response, fuck that, you vote for strike, vote absent, next, black spiritual players do affirmation, black knowledge, and that's one. Why I choose to review about the universe if I got to respond to anti-black racism, fuck anti-black racism, fuck anti-black racism, fuck that black nihilism, anti-black nihilism and anti-powerful spirit, and part of the part of like referring to the unfair belief taken to be rejected for religion, the language of art and I live below, I can see the angels power recorded during that answer saying fuck that statement. Artifact of what was wrong with Howard said the attempts to evaluate which like being fault before working on activity and illuminating for black and interested in believe in relations to black and black racism and announcing the person's no value being saying that we should not care about this person say that percent nothing say black or religion and anti-black racism that is human and resisting one student if it's believable respecting the come under your little reasonable constitute an unreasonable situation, unreasonable unreason, probably to find an unreasonable reason and from the Lisa, the maintaining the universal reason must have created like the United States to see the world like to articulate back into the society and human thought. And we are promised fair education even though we know judges are racist and biased. It will actually not judge fairly if it means retaining their religious beliefs even if they say they do. Fuck that. We are promised their paradigm predictor judging, i.e. Kirk and Elsie emailing us after we lose saying that they've suddenly changed their mind after big schools judge them for belief for liberatory ideology. Fuck that. We are promised that judges will stick to the flow even though we know judges like Bryce Ross in their public RDs, they will not vote for critical acts, even if it wouldn't flow because they care too much about procedural fairness. All of a sudden, white judges make their own white interpretation of what procedural fairness is, what Afro pessimism is, as a form of white privilege, saying they don't want to vote teams out for feeling slurred, and judges figure out what ballot proximity is and vote for our links do not matter, even though they are linked to the plan, even though they know damn sure they are. Fuck that. We're promising the entire tournament, every participant expect the same outcome while teams channel tap tournaments in order to get pairings early the rest of the tournament, even though we know what they're doing is wrong. Fuck that. We get promised that you should lose for making racist arguments, and then we get judge screws and octos when the tutor didn't, even though they dropped the bad. Fuck that. We're probably the topic will provide some new innovation or arguments we've never seen before while teams still believes black debaters being further built on the after the next telling us that we switch sides to actually engage in our arguments, which is just a racist dogma for disempowerment debates. Fuck that. We're promised that us saying any team is one of the final tournaments of the topic disrespects CEDA, even though we are the only team in that final debate to go to this tournament actually are is like team history, while the other team pleases white debaters do really framework and maintains debate as an all white debate. Fuck that. This is our spiritual prayer to the black youth. Fuck that. Amen. That's what we want. My strong prayer is my prayer offered by God. This use the prayer offered to follow that prayer during their own conscience for time. Like I tell you, freedom and youth and maturity, I come by our black light, and my release themselves from a mess. Well, it's with all the W process and haters from my time, so maybe very sorry if I use this, maybe then you to mature, I say, don't do this, and go to the president, and not believe I use reading and doing many things. This back reason why now, maybe or wherever. But they fuck that, amen. And really, after the line, I consider argumentation debate. That's really close to tribe. I consider argumentation memory against the head of my people who give it a altar. Well, the social political formation, and like regular fear, and my family, the possible game here for brief for the race of color. Like I say, time figure, I consider argumentation against the community and head on to a politics and the field, those are another thing to rule on the table of the field, on the from through and vocation. I know our things of the FBI only was deep. Assuming it's possible making active rest of the population to the head of norm, the back part has been trying to possibly making racist argument, our contact argument, feel there are going to say this racist class of ableism more than that. This is a paper page broken more like go for different ways of counter all on the turn. I'm good.
Okay. How does voting act address the actions of individuals described in the 1AC?
Well, the ballot signals that our prayer is a good idea, which enacts spiritual energy onto black debaters who've been armed facing today's resolution.
Okay, cool. Are debates about competing methods to solve the one he sees harms valuable to have?
What is your definition of a competing method?
A competing method, this could be something like a counter-advocacy, a different, just saying that like black nihilism or spirituality is solved, like just saying.
Yeah,
that
those are,
you're-
yeah, but we've said that's not indicative of a model. So you can be a critique, but if it's about like models, then no.
Right, okay, so why are those discussions valuable to have?
Because we have not made like a truism. Like we think that black nihilism is a method and practice we've endorsed. We're open to debate that.
Okay, cool. Why is voting AFF key to spreading spiritual energy or saying fuck racism?
Because the ballot signals whether or not research is a good idea or not. It's paradoxical to say I vote negative to endorse black nihilism, A, because you cannot perform that energy. Secondly, we think that the ballot is a referendum saying the AFF is a good idea. Really negative, if you do make a racist argument, it would detract from that statement because it would say racist arguments are okay, which is actually causing
Okay, that
spirit
makes sense.
murder. So it's like
Would
ballot
the
is
what do you
solving
see
that.
defend its orientation towards black nihilism as a collective or individualized practice?
We've said that in this debate particularly, the AF is good. We don't think that really affirming has an impact on outside claims, which is our critique.
Right, I'm asking like in the debate space, are you saying that like black nihilism is good for CSU or are you saying that it's good for like the people in this room debating actively to practice?
We haven't said that non-black people should do spiritual prayer. That's like blackface and probably bad.
Okay, cool. How do we come to know the libidinal economy is true?
Two important things. One, not a win condition, because we all know racism exists outside of psychological drives, but we think that the one you see has read a piece of evidence that says that there are two factors that contribute to anti-black racism. The first is that there is a libidinal drive, i.e. workers hate black people. Secondly is that capitalist systems give white people a payoff in
Right,
order
my
to
question-
justify the destruction
Yeah, my
of black
question
people.
is more oriented towards that first point you said.
Yeah.
You said libidinal drives. How do we know those libidinal drives are true?
Because there are actions that non-black people take up that are insensible to do, but they still do it because they hate black people.
Okay,
I.e.
so
cops
then-
shoot black people
Right,
even
so
though they don't do
things
it so
are
costing their
insensible,
job because they
then-
hate black people so much
things
and
are
care about
insensible.
losing their
Why
job.
is then this psychoanalytic frame a good scientific metric to orient actions towards?
Because it enables us to describe the world around us. And again, this is not a win condition for you because we all know racism exists outside of psychological wages.
Right, so then if it is not able to combat the like psychological like wages and things.
Well, we think it does.
Okay, how?
Because really affirmative says that you should not reward racist scholarship or racist experimentation with a ballot through a psychological wage. Rather, you should go affirmative to spiritual
Okay,
and black
that makes
leaders
sense.
and
So,
also rejecting the badge of
What
inferiority.
what
you should try
counter
face
to
on.
Western metaphysics does black nihilism provide?
Say your question again? I didn't hear it.
It's fine.
Just in the one C, it's for in that case.
Are we sending over?
Yeah, I'll be okay. If I need to trigger it again, I'll just figure it out. I'll be okay for now. Oh, you said 4 case?
Just gonna pull it up, I'll be good.
Alright. CSU.
No.
Hello. I need to log into the Wi-Fi because it's extremely inconsistent.
You good?
Yeah.
Alright.
We're good. Okay, Nicholas? Give me another drink of water and I'll start posting.
First off, locality top analysis of revolution through the defense of the U.S. and U.S. I think like the border guards for workers in the United States, and the U.S. Federal Courts and three branches of the and some now. Consider government's present three branches of the executive and judicial secrets require government action while joined by Congress. Except the court for the rights of the law, the strength of the right agency, right of oversight, right of oversight, right of schools and that. Resource on the such as executive and ability, only issue around the topic is made space for negative stuff for a second class, but negative by one. This class are also the main overbreakable, predefined controversy, pedagogically unique, and able to encourage us to research or find self-obsessed engagement because if you want to win, you must improve otherwise improvements are argumentation, make sure self-obsessed, and prepare negative fights. Serious flaws in advocacy, true fairness, basic competition about only singles voted for a lost man in the topic under limits, and I roll with negative that for the first, the negative first paradise, the other, the debate, which limits some emphasis, urban discussion, when you have interest in the debate, post discussion, comes to negation with facts, sexual and sexual equity, defaulting competing interpretations, when the ones used good to not prove the contradiction is negative balance. One keeping a winner for doing all structural impacts, and you benefit of their brain sharpness, that isn't about the types of names. Encourages us not offense, you vote, I can agree with the claims of the one who was good or some topical debates to be at bad. Next off, cap K, capitalism is dying. The only question is whether we will raise radical democracy, political fascism, and the politics, for stability, to the point of future away from neoliberal hegemony, has to 17 FSA, 6 months ago, social analysis, different which is the position of opposition, rates of our mental environment, more knowledge on sufficient good success, capitalism, and all actions, and over example, politics, emissions, future politics together, remember politics, and nothing is in advance, anti-black, integral capital, refusing institutional structures, and collective rights makes liberation of Holstein, Holbein, Harmon, and Taylor 22 something, Roman capitalism, and black restricts, and after the market, abolition, justice, labor, the market, these important of this money from the security elements of earlier by imagination, freedom, commentary, economy, being forced in the region, violence, requiring which is liberty, muscles, economy, system, people, and legal not to work out for the liberatory freedom, and get rid of the terms of one to eventually the history of luxury, order, usually the competing capitalists who understand the exploitable list was a way to sustainable leadership for social economy, sailing, units, competing, legacy capitals, prediction of reason, environmental degradation is good. Debate is not a site of rest, but a site of labor, aspiring to the comfortable inclusion. Within structure, you realize predatory inclusion that dominates LIC according to LE 24 here. Universities begin to be integral labor, country, passport, middle class, university, serve, realize, results, student uprising. University making such a research, shape, corporate interest, inclusion, where members can provide access to negotiations, enterprise. Benefits that was the discipline movement, the university of letter, care, as I generally really high exploitation, guys, with it. Just economy with ideology, efforts, and more about progress, American sales, about minority savings, difference in validation, legitibility, generating force, our window, and his development, the workers' ideas, the universe. We can't measure one to give them more progressive section, works, revolutionary weapons, and organizing, dismissive reduction, so the universe include more people, inclusion, not being equalizing the hierarchy. Alternative is to endorse the Communist Party that made this question, speed, scope, and scale of revolutionary strategy, only no power organizing. Both institutions have been materially the communist control, climate change, imperialism, fascism, mescaline, and anti-dual. Power gives us the institutions power, right, with materially the socializing food, and fusion growth, the safety value, the needs of massive social self-management, function, independence, saving lives, demonstrating the possibility of project, health, use, living, catastrophic climate change, enough of the damage control, primary question, other ways, people against our hand, simply the rights of high data, objective for general rights, military, and pro states, and people rights of high order, to figure out the facility, cheap protection, no safe, the collapse, zero possibility, rest of the movement, which infrastructure which can survive the revolution, Marxism, developing social institution, and organizations without people working visually, it's not enough economic capitalism, revolutionary institution, for revolutionary movement, the cannot the institution be a revolution that we live to do, work towards revolutionary is the purpose of the radicalized masses who, meaning the DC communities in which operates institution nearby food, housing, and build a base next off the quality relation, indicate the ODC can be social structure, relies on cost and effective sharing, the effective invisible force on microactive construction, macro political investment, negative to endorse, quantum relationality, Murphy 28, prior assumption about which is not probably the predisposition to reaffirm investigation, structure, depending more on macroactive equality, effective macroactive gross and elements in one place, market construction, all the final liver only, difference between macro form, as many each requires to determine the same for code races, options, and fall patterns, society, market, the reference of macroactive and hold us together, inquiries, macroactivists, and macroactivists, assuming we lose opportunity to understand assumption, all actions identifiable, separate structural power, natural, quantum, management, social rate, property forces, demonstrate the visibility, attention, struggle, dominance, and state of effects, function, bosses, assertion of effects, visible to attention, the particles, quantum, imaginary, fundamentalist, phenomena, alta, controlling part of race, natural, opening space for force to be interrogated. Next off the ballot, pick the lazy value, stands on the subject in the line, now, range, will send the concerns centering around the role of the critical positioning, communities in object investigation, ratings, activities, changes, instrumental, legislation, outlaw, communities, that academic critical objects, structures, native, the members of the run, the rating, circular, representation, will be so, vision, see, other effects, that nonetheless, the effects, energy, academic practice, restore the recognition of these places, which are operated, but legislation created, then issues, they can try to go over discourse and doctrines and officers, especially in the case of the dominant power relation to the academy. Go to case. Vote NEG on presumption. One house must result in mutual harms with another one. You see that because the OEC shifts the locus key that requires changing the burden of solves you do currency app potentials passed by the economy day economy research. Legends spill over conflating practice for praxis, free taxes, to works and black nihilism is solved. Vote app is a good idea. It's possible to call it sustainable terms when work critique is not in the measure possibility what is going to just security now also actually indulge long jump of laughing is up. Getting more reliable near the planet or happens to afford you to see no be something to include material factors effect. Risk meeting over the active so in other words legal shape resting over critique features suspicion usually grow up this active about this is the presence of the objects is the pain of violent possibility of no relation for you practices, and practices, escapism, even if racial bias and psychic elements treated as cultural predictivity is inaccurate and problematic. You put a 24 bias is not any practice can be inappropriate, generalized, zero measure, zero plan, look at a full use of field, those who falls very regard interface, no done, represent real life and control, that is mitigated or bias, not predictive power, brain measure to be criticized, reinforced, and bias, public response, measures, measures, medical institution, measure, critical race systems, historical and social factors, institution shape bias, but discourse fails, golf in 24 minds, shark stats and social environment, immersive system, reason for bias, association, individual actors, actors not receiving all discriminatory, based on discrimination, racial, no, what is bias, operational discrimination, attitudinal symptoms, bias, context, systems, talking, purpose, similarities, and irregularities, readily perceived, localizing, place, association, recognizing, content, bias, changing the context, reduce bias, societal, scale, intervention, reduce inequality, revealing, work outcome, policy, address the result of the problem. Anti-blackness is best understood through labor, analytic capitalism, produces racial differentiation by designating certain segments, and the population is open to super exploitation. For 90, poverty is secured by namely profit difference, market race, differentiation, energies, however, ordering, labor, power, legitimizing, super exploitation, feudal orders, are rapidly damaged by population loss, labor, scarce class, workers, and short undermining legacy, elite, and capital, motives, surplus, list, under compliance, capitalism, a large workforce, African and equal laborers, such as exploitation, with imputed labors, to join twisted with surplus and multi-ethnic, ethnic, force, colonial, state, 5 percent, motor circulation, Virginia, full feudal rest of the African, gave legal sense, the position, labor, Africans, uploading, less, pays with code 5 by 1682, no order, difference, making essentialized, unemployed, English laborers, came to rest, shortly, the breaker, after making, translating English, African laborers, was different, zero, subject to, kind of friction, for religions, and races, and coming, the intervention of racial condoms, material advantage, humanity, African laborers, annihilated, recalibration, of the war, generally, cause of personal health, birth rates, and reproduce the colonies, Caribbean, Asia, Africa, the coming, Malaysia, receive efficiently by socialized difference among the laboring class, like mixed races, the central capitalism, but that process is contingent, and mechanisms like collective bargaining, reforms, alter incentive structures that reproduce race by 25 race, under capitalism, social categories around the processes, and emerging cultural learning, stable, because even individuals reform to that, just about reproduce race around the racial system, but are stable known as the incentive, those benefit, I develop, justification where the other, those may not be able to force organizations, agencies, we don't create organizations in that, incentive structure and intervention, the reduction of the force, function, help, facility movements, towards norms, and Zalula of snag, they conclude that the state can be engaged strategically in that rejecting the starting work for politics is bad activism. Zalula 24 public use different for left and races, theory of public spaces, civil society, dialogue, media scholars, and sources. I didn't use being without controlling those rejected factions that challenge with left and south, reach out sufficient to answeratory and reject capitalism without minimal consensus, ethical substance, disintegrates the centralized institutions of fundamental options, the state on the prior evil, claiming the common sense that he believes the state can be can dismantle racist fantasy support, make up enough money for the state can support the same theories of fantasy support, about race mitigate versus after buffer against how fantasy civil society, the real and universities and organization run. The list has a right idea, support ideas, support movement, they read environmental packages, disability policy, LGBTQ plus groups such as symbolic control struggles, ensures of represented edges and edge enabled to expand the fantasy of race, and that unions can be radical in class politics are essential to the if we're going to do that right now, though not only unions can be conservative, your workers are in earlier economic labor exploitation has mentioned labor activism involves motivated supports the working class, not the overemphasizing the economy to the centrality that workers about the working class, the abstract working class, the universal part of the part that trust the universal injustice of the system. Black nihilism is theoretically wrong and self-defeating until 18 lack. Nihilism is anti-philosophical movement and focusing against metaphysics, epistemology, and liberation of freedom of the works on human cognition, conceptual motives, based on whiteness, the lack of reasoning upon our particular performance today, black things in regard to the creation of races and humans, nothing more than social compact among my races. I can't exclude, cut the card and exclude, Black nihilism fails, Evans 14. Nihilism is destructive feeling making the white supremacy society seduce senses of hoping. Motivation struggle more than just more just world fatalism, rage, hopelessness, fatalism, sense energy fight. On make life better, future general presence have evidence, hope, and ancestral obligators of our shame. Up against existential and spiritual threat, nihilism. I have 40 seconds. Up to you. Cool. Labor rights advocacy are good mechanic and level 20 mistake to dismiss rights on law rights most important in this class discourse resources immigrant and not white workers are made. Committed reform especially because of repressive law and clear understanding about the most of our promising strategies of political action, legal norms, saturated society, and other levels of law should not be viewed as justification of interest power. At the same time, the power and checks enough from within the radical use develop routine legal policy analysis support subaltern groups, mobilize legal principles, extend legal equality, work with law state this reform warranty characters from and the lazy to be left over and then way jeopardy movement of far rights for victims of DP Filipino national social required groups completely accept the legal norms of one can become radical, get as the results of capitalism on equal resource distribution rights, develop from experience from legal from group below that legal constitution around an experience-based understanding. Cut the mechanic, level card, and experience-based understanding. And then I get some water and I'm good for class. Good.
Alright, you said you're good.
Yep.
Status?
Conditional status.
Couple questions. What is a micro-ant text?
A microactant is things like individual entities, so that would.
Okay, so what individual entities is the one you see invisible as?
Yeah, so we have said that we problematize the idea that
Not my
the
question.
NEC
Not my
has.
question.
What?
Not my question.
Yeah.
What microantics or whatever the word is did we invisibilize?
Yeah, so things that affect how microactants was structured macroactants,
You're not
i.e.
answering my
superstructures.
question. What did we
Yeah,
invisibilize?
so things that affect, so the examples that you list in the 1AC for things like judges like Bryce Rao, for example, being racist, we think that there are better
Okay,
explanatory
no, you're not
variables.
answering. Who did we invisibilize? What
Yes,
did we
so
invisibilize?
you have problematized things that certain individuals do, and in doing so, by creating a cause and effect chain, for example, that with someone
You
like
clearly
Bryce-
don't know what this is, and I don't either. So that's
Disagree,
fine.
but
I want to
sure.
ask about the alternative. How does it equate quantum relationality with black people?
Sorry?
How does it equate quantum relationality with black people?
I guess I'm confused by your question.
So your alternative, which you do not know your critique, clearly says vote negative to endorse quantum relationality. How does the alternative create relationality with black people?
Yeah, so we think that redefining the idea that social structures are structured by cause and effect allows us to create new ontological spaces to interrogate social
What the fuck
structures.
does that mean?
Yeah, so we think that the 1AC has relied on cause and effect understanding.
Okay, you're bullshitting me. It's fine. I don't have any more questions about this because nobody knows what this is. I want to ask about the studies you've read on this Galvin evidence. What's the sample size?
I don't know how
That's damning. I want to ask about these other lines. It says that there are implicit associations we make between racialized groups such as good, bad, smart, criminal, dumb, measured by IAT tests. Why does this not prove that Lability economies and Lability drive the
Well,
group?
it says that those things are structured by institutions.
Okay, that's
if
probably.
those things exist, they structured by institutions.
Oh, okay, bet. That sounds like uniqueness. That's great. There's a
Disagree.
couple things I also want to ask about as well. The alternative, what are the accountability mechanisms?
Yeah, so we think that things like weighted voting for black comrades, internal review, and like
Wait, how do black commerce get access to voting when things like redlining exist?
well, no, like internal, like internal voting within the party.
Okay, so what if there's like a bunch of like racist, sexist black people in the party?
Chris, is the Murray card like that a pick?
No.
Okay.
Sorry, can you answer your question again?
I have a different question. That's fine. When did we say we should rest?
We think that the 1AC's focus, I guess, the 1AC's focus on combating problems within debate is what the Alonzi
That is not what this says.
Causality card
That
is
is not what this says.
emphasizing.
That's promise not what it says.
Strongly disagree. It says that we should use the university as a
What?
site of labor.
So the
we
your link is
think we
that-
should be focused on things on the outside and using the university to combat those things.
Sure. Libra?
Yeah. Makes sense?
Okay. Stop.
9:30. Oh, this is around 7, right? Yeah. So, it will be case. The quantum relationality caving. The ballot pick. The cap K and then frame.
I'm good whenever Ashley is.
Yep. First. Alright. Alright, everybody's good? Alright, sweet. Anti-blackness glorious labor through libidinal and political economy is making blackness fall outside of European humanism to enable racial capitalist systems that exploit black labor that seeks to end black life. As all of the violence isn't just outside but inside debate as well as destroy black critical argumentation display. Black critical debaters secondary striking for exclusion, white nihilism lashes out to erase argumentation which leads the PRO of years surveillance policing and decreasing of black spiritual and mental health for debaters and more. That's Johnson vote after black nihilism is a rejection of white nihilism within labor and this debate one spiritual prayer affirming black nihilism alone checks anti-blackness in debate and provides energy and vitality exposure alone guides community practices to affirm black debaters. That's 1 C Johnson, 2 vulgarity Josh Howard. Bruce vulgarity is key to make white respectability, call it politics uncomfortable. If you're at all uncomfortable in this room, then that's solvency taking place. That looks like calling out your community through shutdown debate space. Next letter that forces liberatory ends through fugitive inhabitants, challenging debate nihilistically. The resolution is key, enables pessimistic optimism. Through black noise to combat racialized speech acts, which answers their black nihilism fails. Cards now, case presumption, ballot shape, norms, judges. Ballots are going to be key to contest anti-blackness inside this round. Appears true, striking slurs, more inclusion, team changing practices. All proof we can challenge anti-blackness. True thesis depoliticizing this logic says that you should never take a black person for police brutality because they can't solve all racism, which is illogical and violent. Answers their currency often, so we solve our harms. And tactics explained above. Now libidinal economy, yes, libidinal economy, not a way condition because we know racism exists. Absent psychological explanations to political economies, libidinality isn't just psychological, but mediated through retraction of black people from capitalist economies, which answers their labor self. That's 1 C Zala, yes, libidinal economy, you go to politicals, politicals, and repeated evidence on how people live, how people do so, and they say libidinal economy, more part of libidinal economy, most people, we see libidinal economies anytime there's one side of origin, use it as racism, and use it with better side effects on financial security, the libidinal here, black people, also libidinal economy, cost benefit analysis, take a part of numbers of correct organization, police don't get monetary reward, regardless of civil synthetic, with the Christian, whatever agrees with this black, and this is was used mostly by white women, now to the part of women, we haven't read neuroscience means they'll link to the 1 C evidence, but also studies knows, emphasize those cross-sex means, and they can't solve it, also people could just lie on the test, which means that they have an incentive to not act racist. The Galvin evidence, we agree institutions are shape bias, that's uniqueness for us, so it means challenging the institution debate is key, deliver analytic answer above, CPR's fail framework will prove it, and their evidence also concedes libidinal drives, that's inserted 1 C Galvin in yellow. Now the first Zala evidence, so it doesn't say the state can be anti-capitalist, it just says that the state has limited options, but we haven't said the state is bad, and the 1 C just that anti-blackness uses the state for purposes of violence proven by the 1 C, and we have specified rejecting labor as anti-black, which solves the poor evidence state, that doesn't solve it, and that says that you can't change the state, but you can change the state of debate, and it's also from 2022, or evidence post-state it now, that answers the second piece of the Zala and Kapoor evidence, the mechanical level evidence is wrong, NAACP and BLM are transphobic, which is the reason to reject the team, but it also waters down state politics because they ended up supporting things like the police, the Filipino nationals, all got cracked on Quincy Pro, which proves that the whitewash history, and now the black nihilism stuff. I answered this above, but their evidence goes out. It says that we should do things like in the white world, we do that by rejecting Freiburg, and that's inserted in yellow. The above proves energy is key that we solve, and spirit murder always violence, and all 24 spirit murder occurs racial violence and that impacts including second and self-governance. So, the color of those features have lower levels of bias, racial attitudes, reflect larger society, racial bias is not changing this. It's where white people out of the current situations, spirit murder, the impact, interface, students feeling up, outside left X long after feeling less good, racist teaching practices aims to murder their spirit. Now, the quantum relationality, K, perm to birth, perm to each, and no solvency, cross-X checks, quantum relationality exists, and also cannot solve it in the AFF. Every reason why they cause anti-blackness on framework and across every single flow is the reason why they can't create relationality, which means that it double turns offense and it's offense against K, but force solves it because we engage a structure of violence, not just individualism, which means we solve our offense and connect relationality better than they do. Now, the ballot pick one.
Really quick.
Yeah.
Cross-X did not explain what this is.
Cross-X did not explain what this is.
We
We get new answers. Now, the ballot pick one proves the gap to the decline human use negation debating, and the economy is good. It creates black vitality and energy. And the alternative would see this face the PRO and right-wingers, which makes their impacts inevitable without surveillance, but not unique. It's already happening now. And the atomicality, which means things like competitive incentives are inevitable, but they engage in traditional academia. And the pick is a whitewash, a value system that says it's just the asterisk stand in its own, which is the example of how saying vote NEG to say racism is true, but deny black nihilism causes severe murder and is proof of anti-blackness. Now, the cap K, making your ethical commitments of black liberation conditional as a voting issue, makes black people fungible objects in favor of hyper competition, and to exploit black people encounters the voter-based class through time, skewed through a room, third, fourth level testing at all costs of the framework offense. Now, framework our interpretation is that this debate is whoever has the best political commitment to challenge white nihilism in debate, because your ballot cannot actualize the party, but it can actualize our political commitments inside of this space. Now, Perm do both black nihilism is key to create movements in solidarity through storytelling, which is uniquely key because people need it for solidarity and empathy. But Perm do the and the alt, and now the net benefits. Engaging the vulgarity is key. It allows people to say fuck guys, believe some more, which all proves is necessary for tactics to create the energy needed for mass revolution in the first place. And that is a spiritual net prayer net benefit. But all their links don't negate the app because our app is about us being inside of this space is good, but their links attempt to negate our criticisms for external questions, making an anti-black debate space inevitable that turns the ability to create better activists and skills due to anti-blackness in the space. Now the alternative is the reason why it fails, but correct on it. It fails. The PSL, DSA, and other CIA Democratic wins election. Democrats win elections to water down the moves, which means it can't solve but infiltration. They get infiltrated because whenever we engage in state, we result in people like Mamdani who say that we should be radical, but then support the NYPD who represses Palestinian moves, accountability. This had no way to check for racist, sexist, and anti-black people within the party. Cross-sex checks and voting can't solve because those voters are still anti-black. Now all that fails is the status quo, which means no trade-off. Now debate is good and key. Answers are offense. I Dave on love with leaders of beautiful struggle. Branda Montes and Luis Andrade all prove debate. Using debate as a side of rejecting anti-blackness is good and also links back to them since they use debate. So that double turn is not unique and no link. We never said rest. Well, we have said black people, but they have said black people must always labor, which causes anti-black violence, exhaustion, and causes fair murder. But they say black people don't work. They said black people should not working is bad. That's plantation logic that liquidates them and says that they're unreasonable for not working, which is the reason to reject the team. Now the Escalante evidence speed is ableist. It sacrifices black people with disabilities and all fails. It cites Marxist Center, which has been dead since 2020. Also cites the DSA. It's turning yellow. They're imperialist. Cross 24. DSA. Not just rebellious. He Sean famous criminals over the DSA. Is the lower use and Russia, Ukraine, genocide against the U.S. and see courts as genocide. Joe Biden's most secure defenders over there. Mass murder in Palestine. Cut the card at Palestine now. Our theory stuff irons are already answered. Why we explain labor above because we engage in political economy. So I don't need to read the blessed one right evidence. Framework. Affirm black nihilism in this debate. One, there is no such thing as a model debate, but different styles of arguments that are not static but fluid. Michigan Reese process, Kansas favors this and K teams all debate differently, and they don't assume a universal model when coming to the round, which is why we have theory debates through the ballot cannot create nor enforce a model vote neg will not tell K teams that CEDA to quit reading chaos, but it's impossible and unenforceable, and it's a question of which performance and arguments in this debate are desirable since ballot only signals what happens in this round, not other ones. Some point A molding this out, there is no such thing as a model debate, but different styles of arguments. Arguments are not static but fluid, and posing things creates mastery over black debaters to invest in libido drives to mold blackness to whatever it wants. Some point B assume value just at T. It's not a negotiation, assumes whiteness is under attack when CSU reason chaos is an imposition which black debaters are forced to constantly justify their existence, causing burnout and exhaustion, precluding access. Now ballots. Now the debatability neg ground, the F is negatable, proven by how they read the capcade, which means it's not concessionary ground. Nihilism net benefit. I already explained this about why using debate is good. Limits inevitable, teams read Christianity, convoluted politics, etc. And some point B, white comfortability. This limits are weaponized to ensure the comfortability, white nihilism to evade our criticisms, which turns all their dogma arguments and also turns their impacts back access and impacts back access. Now the ballot proximity stuff cross-applied the ballot stuff I did above on presumption. Now sliding scale, maximize anti-racism and treat it as a sliding scale. The ballot can solve things like corrupt disparities, but it can't solve anti-blackness inside of this round. The alternative would make it inevitable, which makes debate apathetic and complacent, and keep the footwork this at any risk they haven't been anti-black means you should reject them because it's key for access. Now Pixar voters to use black litter causing second burnout, proclaiming debatability in some predictable moves. So when you see where Pixar words on high of the lines, and terms of fairness and clash offense. Now go to fairness. One, white nihilism just at fairness is white nihilism that seeks a psychological wage and seeks to lash out because it seeks it assumes minorities are unfairly benefiting from a system that is degrading. For nostalgia, white times that response creates white lash through PRO, FBI, and senior surveillance and reward and GMU with psychological wages to give black people badges of inferiority that degrades black existence and whitewashes debate. That's one to see Zala, and also Unibus and the legacy of people like Louisville, Towson, Emporia, Fresno, and more to assume they would be non-existent, which prevents the ability for us to have black procedural equity in the first place, which turns all their offense. Now, be prepared to be unprepared. This had the idea. T should be neg ground is our argument that they weaponize incompetence to be unprepared every time the neg extends their standards. Understand that they have made those things inevitable. All this can be cross-applied to clashes. Voting neg requires we be procedurally bracketed out. No impact. Nobody leaves after losing chaos. 1-5 goes into back Bruce. All causes shadows having releasing scenes, pairing, ChatGPT, AI, evidence, condo picks, and more. All prove it's inevitable. Fairness, paradox, no. And paradox, just like John Kazoulis and Bryce Ralph Dump, and judges lie all the time. Now, subject formation. I don't have to win this because we have won broadly a question of norms. Now, refuse framework at CEDA. That's key to reject implicit biases and unconsciousness that moves towards white nihilism and debate. That's key since framework seeks to bring the PRO back after the exodus of primary white debaters, teams that use frameworks to exclude black in search of argumentation. Now, a clash, it'll impact any TDH which side argument they make. Psychological wages, this side affirming clash struggle. Incentivizes anti-blackness. They cannot nullate this because they have said cap causes extinction, which means we have an external impact that outweighs the endpoint of the research. It reaps the later's benefits that exploit black people, causing exhaustion to justify libido drives and extraction. And that's one to see Zala and mastery. This had already did this above, but it creates anti-black hierarchies in debate to devalue black critical debaters, which creates hierarchies, master slave economies. Now 3, terraforming this had an attempt to justify things like fiat away racism in the picket line government, etc. that creates civil comfort to assume we can do business as usual, which enables white supremacy and turns their advocacy and skills offense. Now switch debate, one stability this had assumes people like civility politics like Josh are being seen as uncivil the same way black debaters are seen as uncivil for reading chaos which causes psychological violence and policing on the app to devil's advocates that allows people to take sides on anything, and also bargaining table disadvantage teams, which is bracket out this app by saying extinction outweighs moot case, and a safe framework outweighs as well. If fails, we're an AFF, not a NEG. We advocate for black nationalism in this debate that loses to current.
Are you good for cross?
Yeah.
Cool. Research like the team, I got the mechanical level thing, picks, the labor thing on the cap K. Am I missing any?
Condo.
Oh, and condo, yeah.
Yeah, condo, ethics condo, and then regular condo, and then saying that black debaters should always like labor forever.
Yeah, the labor stuff in the cap K. Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
But it's yeah.
Let's go to topicality. What do debates in your counterinterp look like?
Our argument is that proposing a counter model is impossible. Instead, you should affirm black nihilism in this debate to reject the reading of topicality. But we have also made arguments about why like there are critical debates that can happen, but it's not necessarily a defense of a model per se, because we have read arguments why the ballot cannot enforce a model.
Critical
or force
debates
the
that
same way.
can happen.
Yeah.
Why are those good?
Those are good because they allow people to engage in the radical potential of debate, reject anti-blackness and train skills, which was the Davon stuff I did above. But again, largely these questions are irrelevant because it is about what happened in this debate. So all your models questions just waste of time.
Why are
we
models,
haven't defended the model.
Yeah.
We said you can engage.
We have said affirm black nihilism in this debate.
why are models bad?
We have made arguments about why models are bad because it creates the liquidation of blackness, i.e., for example, the only way we can understand black critical debaters existing in debate is if they have to mold themselves into widened understandings of how they should argue, which is psychologically violent.
I guess
the second is assumed value, right? T is not a negotiation, it's an imposition because it says that critical argumentation should always lose, like we should read it but
I
still
guess
lose.
why
is
is
our
the
argument.
fulcrum of critical argumentation being that the AFF doesn't endorse topical government action?
Sorry, what?
Why is the fulcrum of critical argumentation based in the fact that the AFF is just not topical?
Well, I think this like erases the long history of apps that take the topic but affirm it through a non-state lens, and that mirrors the racist history of debates on your model saying, "Oh, well, since it goes to the state, you should lose. You're incompetent. You're dumb. You're silly, etc." Which are racialized forms of stereotyping that you cannot like disassociate yourself from your model.
I guess why does our form of topicality necessitate those?
Well, because the wording is like your form of topicality comes from a long legacy of that argumentation. Like you cannot, for the same reasons why we can't separate ourselves from the debating of Louisville and Towson is the same reasons why you can't separate yourself from the PRL.
But
even if you want to.
But your model will also say like Louisville reading on your ass should never win.
Exactly,
And
yeah.
Portage should never win debate. And that would erase the long progressive history that K debate has done to challenge norms, not just by being a negative argument, but also being affirmative.
Yeah, your argument would have also said like Devin should have never won CEDA,
Right.
which is our argument about how you literally deny black participation.
Okay.
Like a lot of people wouldn't be here if Devin didn't win CEDA.
Okay,
like let's
sure.
be real.
Let's go to the cap K. Engaging in vulgarity is key.
Yep.
Why is the AFF key to this?
The app is key to this because we have said we should obviously like reject racism inside of this space by saying fuck that. That is good because the very thought of vulgarity is something that inspires and sparks large movement building. For example, people holding up like their signs or protests,
I guess
protesting
I'm
saying
gonna-
fuck ICE, the police, etc.
And
All
your stuff,
those-
your
that's
stuff
key.
probably also like waters down to like lib mentality.
Yeah.
Because like Mom Donnie would be like, I'm too afraid to say fuck Trump. So like,
I
Exactly.
disagree, but that's fine. All
I
right.
highly disagree with that statement.
What was the one on the bargaining table yet?
The bargaining table this have
Yeah.
is just like teams will still say framework on the app, and then they'll also say extinction outweighs, and they'll say no K about reps, no K about like nines.
Probably not.
Okay, that's fine.
We need a bathroom.
Oh, so you've been going?
It's been going well. I'm just like going through the motions, just 'cause like I just like got a headache for no reason yesterday. So.
Do you have a cold? I have like cold meds in my bag if you want one.
I don't know. It's not like a cold, more so. It's just like a sore throat. But like I got some medicine from Devin for that. It's just more so like a headache at this point.
You know, you bet your brain is probably so unbelievably fried from going immediately from finals to CEDA. So
Yeah, I mean, I just like I remember like just being on the plane and like getting sleep and then still going to the hotel and just like still being tired.
yeah.
Yeah.
How long were y'all able to be back for?
Like I would say less than a day.
Damn.
Yeah. So
How's that schoolwork going?
I'm so happy we have spring break.
Oh
I'm
my
so
God.
happy. Cause like I remember I gave my excuse letter to my teachers and then I was like, it's spring break. But then I realized that spring break was the next week, which is now. So I'm just so
shit.
happy.
Damn.
One of our debate coaches teaches one of the classes that we're both in, and we have a 8 to 10 page paper due on Thursday that we haven't started.
Wait, dang, that sucks.
No, but genuinely, like, I don't think I've ever felt so dead coming from the tournament when we came from the NDT to CEDA. I was like, I literally remember texting Ashley, I was just like, I can't. Like, I don't want to do this. I'm so tired.
Yeah, I guess you. How was the NDT? I saw y'all made it to doubles.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, immediately got boomed by Michigan, but
And
you,
we appreciate
you know,
y'all
you,
for cleaning them up.
Thanks, yeah. We cleaned up the evil, you know.
Yeah.
evil.
You know, it was good. I don't know, cause we walked in and I thought we could make it to dubs. We hadn't broken a tournament since Gonzaga, right? So I was just like you know, fucking we ball. We had a lot of like iffy decisions. We sparked a team.
That was UTD.
Yeah.
I remember that. One of the debaters came out and was like, "Yeah, my brain is rotted, like horrible."
Yeah, we just threw the like new spark shit that Nick has because he works for Parker. So just fucking we ball.
What the hell else am I supposed to say about construction workers? I have no thoughts on construction workers. Do whatever you want.
We had a wild case neck to that. Because
Really?
their evidence was like we should like prevent PLAs or something like that.
Uh-huh.
And it's like PLAs like prevent the ability for people to like strike and resist exploitative labor conditions. So we're just gonna be migrant pessimism. And we're just
Yeah.
gonna be like, yeah, nah, y'all are horrible. And then also like there's like more evidence, like Diego cut some evidence that was like they're led by racists or something like that, and like they like perpetuate anti-blackness and stuff. So we were gonna read like this procedural and basically like say PLA spec or something like that. I don't
Yeah.
remember. All I know is that we had good arguments.
Not our PLA.
Yeah, exactly. That's what they would say, but that's why we got the spec. The spec ready.
Did you see that Emory GS just like put all of their unbroken apps on the wiki and we're like, okay, everyone have fun and read these?
There's no way they
Yes,
did that.
it's at the very, very top of Emory GS's wiki. And the judge is like something to it, sinister to it.
Yeah.
There's no. I have
Yes.
to do this. Curtis, did you hear what Danny did?
No.
He put all his unbroken apps on the wiki. He would do something like that, bro.
Cemex, takings, labor peace agreements, and Fed workers.
Unbroken
Bro,
goods.
this shit's boring. They should read non-competes.
Sinister to
It's just deepings. Okay.
Cards.
No.
They should.
Cool. Debate's unique features as there's two sides, one must always negate the other. The question you need to ask yourself is why that's the case. The distinction between the debate community, discussions about anti-blackness, participating in protests, and attending elections that debate, no matter the topic, requires contradiction. There's two impacts. First is fairness. Debate is incoherent without the resolutions roll from the NEG. Their interim courtesy after unilaterally set a value system for the debate and decide the rule of the value which makes it impossible to be next to give speak first decide the value system and dictate the terms. Everyone comes to debate for different reasons, but they compete because they think they can win with fairness preconditions. That outweighs there are two frames. First is the paradox. Intrinsically valuable for both sides regardless of style or content since they're both here to win. They line by line desire fair evaluation. CSU would be upset if you gave a bad decision, which would provide them citing bad decisions in the 1EC. If not, then unfairly vote neg after 2 and C2 is solvency. It's the only impact that's solved by the ballot. Debate is a game where individual debates don't shape subjectivity. The stakes about the result are far lower than the scope of path often. Second is clash. Interrejoinder enables and encourages active research that refines itself over seasonal engagement because if you want to win, you must improve. Otherwise, improvements in argumentation remain surface level. I've prepared negative that find serious flaws in AFF C2AC1 is the two here will go for rejecting GMU for reading framework. That's not a reason to vote AFF1. Its model should still universalize their model because every team, because they reject this team individually for reading framework, are still into our offense too. It doesn't solve their impacts are about broader trends in the activity that are intrinsic to our reading of framework. Voting us down in round 7 of CEDA does literally nothing to materially alleviate anti-blackness. Three is tactics. Making it solely a question of rejecting us is the worst form of tactical formation. It ensures we identify things problematic without crafting alternatives. Next, their lack of counter model has two implications. One is boundary no. Counter model means that we shall defend a topic with zero limits. Do no offense also means they have no mechanism to solve their offense. They either include everything which makes us our offense 100% against the impact turns, or it excludes other chaos which links their offense. Now, competing interpretations is the best without a model they can't solve any of their 2EC offense. Anything else magnifies limits. The alternative to a model debate is a world where anybody can stand up and say it's about this round and read anything which makes clash and being like impossible since we don't have T as a check against unpredictable apps. That means even if they win, the universalized models are impossible. It's still valuable to invest in one so that we can still weigh our offense. And externally, there's ethical localism. DA only weighing impacts in this one round is the worst kind of ethical localism. The teachers debaters only worry about themselves when they lead this space without considering what their strategy looks like when universalized. Now, the voting for JMU on T doesn't legitimize the practices they've criticized. One, we can agree, you can and should agree the judges, but going line by line and half for policy teams shouldn't judge debates. However, you can't solve that by voting for either side. Two, evaluating this debate technically solves. Three, voting after round 7 of a single tournament can should reshape the practice of individual community members and the assumption that does links back to their offense. Now, the no model CA voting after KBK debates and abstract is not an interpretation. One, they don't solve it. They're either include policy policy debates which links their offense, or gets rid of policy Fs entirely, which gets rid of plan versus K debates. Plans are key to nuance submissive over the desirability to action relative to an alternative like pessimism or revolution. Two, even if they win, some KBK debates are good now because there's an incentive for K teams to tie their app closer to the resolution so they won't lose the T. Under their vision of the topic, the negative can no longer go for RT violation, which deletes the incentive to be even somewhat topical. That makes the negative research burn literally infinite, which ensures no rule for the negative and destroys in-depth iteration. Ethical clash is a prerequisite to why KBK debates are good in the first place. Three, we solve their offense. Our interpretation incentivizes infiltration apps to take the state down from within to deploy non-statist for advocacy. For example, Malcolm X defending the government to figure out organs of prison, Derek Bell defending the United States funding of healthcare to abuse an irredeemably white supremacist system, etc. are some examples of revolutionary strategy that our battle facilitates. Now, T is not in position when knowing JMU has no protocol for the 1EC they read, and voting neg on T is not equivalent to violence they described. Debate is distinct, and the judge can just as easily vote AF. 2 is engagement topicality is disagreement with the 1EC. We've disagreed with the AF's interpretation of the resolution and interpreting orientation towards the resolution. Now, the valuation DA, no, it's not protecting whiteness as a work done above. Reason it's not exclusion of any of their literature or how they want to describe the 1EC. I mean, it just says that they can read it, but if 2 and R decides to go for topic topicality, they should not get the belt. This is not securitizing whiteness because the work done above, because our model is not about exclusion, but rather the best model to engage with the forms of activism that they say are good. Now the app is negatable, wrong, that's said above, because of the lack of predictability means that we're not able to engage with the case NEG. The only reason why the only example they gave was that we read the Kafka, but this is disproven by them saying that the links aren't specifically unique to the app in the 2EC. Now the limits inevitable argument is wrong. Titling the resolution justifies millions possible 1ECs, and it's not a predictable reading of the resolution, and they don't stop limits. Any team can say it's about this app or this debate, which justifies anything. Now the uncomfortability day, one no link is not an instantation of whiteness, nor does it cause spirit murders and impact turns to the 1EC's claims, so we should not debate about the resolution. 2, if the one here says that you should ignore offense to make us uncomfortable, it links to the 1EC offense that would justify judges making decisions besides what happened on the flow, like in their MSU example. But the key frame for the rest of the flow is that all of their impacts, or all of their other impact turns on T are predicated on exclusion to some extent or prioritizing whiteness. This uncomfortability day also has the same logic and imposition behind it, which means it answers the rest of it. Now picks aren't a voter, they are logical extension conditionality, which we'll answer later. Us not going for the pick resolves any of their offense. There also wasn't a pick on this flow, which means that it's not a reason to reject the team. Now, white nihilism day, the history framework is not a reason to vote AFF, one no link. We aren't the PRL. We presented a counter vision to debate that enables us to confront and challenge those racist people and their ideologies. 2, our reading is distinct. The PRL would refuse the form, we said teams showed read critiques on the negative, and voting NEG doesn't erase the legacy of past debaters. You confirm those individuals, but also agree in this debate that our interpretation is best. Now, the unpreparedness day is not weaponized incompetence proved by them, saying the links aren't specific to the app, which I've done above, but it doesn't matter. It's about levels of engagement which is impacted out above. It is not inevitable. Examples like ChatGPT, Condo, etc. are something neither side can resolve, so debate must adapt to account for that, but also your role as judges focus on maximizing clash, even if they get up and say that some level of clash disruption is inevitable. That does not matter, because you should be focusing on maximizing it to create the best vision of debate. Now, the nose paradox and judges lying doesn't matter, because it's about win conditions. The judges viewing racism place an unfair win condition on the affirmative before they enter the debate, but them reading an untopical app certainly places an unfair win condition on us. Now, no framework at CEDA is wrong. 2, on topicality is good. Encourages debates about models and tells us what we should prioritize in debate. That in fact turns to justifications for the 1EC. 2, this links 100% to our offense. It means the app can say this anything because it's CEDA, which eliminates all predictability. The turns to our offensive teams are spread way too thin to have in-depth KVK debates. 3, they link to 2EC read a counter model that is a model, which inherently presumes that we should disagree about how we relate to the resolution. Now, the second wages day knows about questions of engagement, not theft. Those said above, because not attempting to steal any labor or their orientation towards the topic. Now, the mastery day, no link is trivializing to assume there is link to it. All the offense and above about how it's a question of engagement is not saying that we should try to masterize anything above, but also they just said that they did it at the top too, which means all the extra top options specified here. The terraform day, no link, because they get debated out. It's not increasing whiteness, because even if they say that it increases anti-blackness in some instances, all the work about engaging with them disproves this. Now, civility day, not forwarded black argumentation as uncivil. Don't hold us accountable for what racist people do in other debates or our model, because it's not intrinsic to it. The bargaining table DA, it's not crying out that you provide a unique advantage ground to get to debate on framework. It's again a question of models, so all the work done above. Now, case 1, presumption, group the every impact of spirit murder, and every other example they try to extend the 1AR. The 1AC amounts to nothing more than regurgitation theory without a practice to solve it. A, a scale, even if mass subject formation cannot, and every debate centered black nihilism, anti-blackness cannot simply be talked away. They set their own bar way too high in the 1AC, because words in debate cannot so to hold racist judging practices, debates about the state, or anti-blackness out of this space, feeds insularity subject formation. Once a current single round should choose or closed off. Falcon CSU doesn't validate their pedagogy, but it's a provisional judgment of argumentation, execution. The inspired framework updates not my such as external sources like family, media, and school term of belief. More C is tactics. If they win subject formation, they re-raise. There's whole C is just about debate. 2EC drops uniqueness that only politics available to us is changing our words, changes powerlessness, because racist powers want us to believe our only options everyday discourse and non-compliance. So choice as a debate, as a forum to forward in black nihilism. C is material change, ensures complacing with powers adapt to get ahead the message. That's a Carroll evidence. It's not demobilizing, depoliticizing to say, no, we have to say that they have to solve all racism. It's rather saying that they must prove that they resolve their internal links isolating the 1EC, which they don't. Now, there's a big K of labor laws reductionist. If we win this frame, we win that debating about it on framework is good. Labor laws transformative and not universally violent. We should imagine ways to create better working conditions, higher wages, and a galvanized debate for prevailing social movements. Winning has been historically violent is insufficient, because work is never to some degree in and outside the state as we can level. Those organizations being transphobic is not an independent reason to reject the team. If anything, if you buy this argument, you can strike the card, but doing bad things doesn't erase the gains that they did make in terms of racial inclusion. And unions generate interracial empathy. They provide counterpoints by defining groups as identity, external to race, practically driving shifting attitudes. Common BOC leadership fosters empathy through substantive responsibility that positively affects perceptions. Their evidence agrees, extend the reconnaissance law that says narrowing the scope of the state down to an inevitable enemy, limits activist potential, and shuts down the possibility of reclamation. Debates about the states are able to dismantle racist ideologies in and out of the university through a politicized approach to achieve material goals. It's forward capital, and it concludes that even if some unions or the state labor politics can be racist or conservative, discussions surrounding unions are essential, because the working class is what makes up all movements and demands. Now, black nihilism as a practice fails and operates as an independent case turn. A is bankruptcy. It's not able to properly explain Western metaphysics or epistemology, and gives no direction for black people outside of rejection, making new social contracts impossible as hell evidence. It does not say that we should end the white world. It says that's the view of black nihilism, which is why it fails. B is demotivation. It conceded leads to hopelessness, cynicism, and feeling that we should not struggle for a more just world. This evidence means any 1% risk that you are not sure about the banality claims means that you automatically default neg. This means that it hurts the ability for the affirmative to solve any aspect because it depoliticizes energy. That means that people are not able to answer or respond to the prayer in face of spirituality, meaning that you have to vote neg.
You good?
Yeah.
Alright. Can you force K teams at CEDA to read the plan?
No.
No? Okay. After debating clients for a year, have you legalized a secondary strike?
No, but I've learned a lot about
Okay.
them. And it's helped
You
me
learned a lot
outside.
about them? Have you made wages?
What do you mean?
Yeah,
So,
like have you passed
well,
policies?
learning about union and like bargaining rights has
Well,
actually.
it's just like a yes or no question. That's why, because we've debated this for a year, so that's why I'm just...
Well, I'm just a little like confused about the premise of your question because if you're asking have I learned more about my rights as a worker, the answer is absolutely yes. I have learned
okay.
more about my rights as a worker and how to externalize
That
those
makes
rights.
sense. Okay, then Clash, like, how do you force people to debate about like policy things like disads, process counterplans, etc.?
Well, the thing is even process counter plans, apps respond to that.
I know.
with
I'm just like
unique
asking, like, how do
reasons.
you force people to do those things?
Like, what am I forcing people to do? I guess.
Yeah,
is my
because you
question.
said Clash, we need to debate about policy education. I'm asking, how do you get people to read the disad, the econ disad, process counterplans? Like, do you force them to do those things?
Well, no, it's not.
Okay, if you don't force
forcing
them to do
people
those things, how do you get like
anything.
your education? People are just gonna read Ksat, moot the app, say microaggressions, whatever, whatnot. So like, how do you solve your Clash offense?
Well, if people go for like links that moot the entirety of the app, obviously that is a debate to be had.
Okay,
and
if it's a
people
debate
are
to be had and
affirmative.
people will always
about
have
whether
those
those
things, then why do
links
you get
are
like the
valid.
education that you
Sorry.
want to get?
Well, right. If you're going to make the claim that like K debates are inevitable, we agree that to some extent they are inevitable, but the role of the judge should be focusing on maximizing the potential of debate, i.e. maximizing clash.
Okay.
So to some extent,
I
yes.
think the first question contradicts that, but I
I
guess like
strongly
why is it
disagree.
valid? No. Why is it valid for like GMU, WW inside of CEDA round 7?
Well, we have said that you have placed an unfair win condition on the negative by reading an unpredictable AF and saying that we should not focus on models or discuss
So
favor. So
like
voting.
valid good for negative because love of the game.
Well, I mean, I'm sure that could be one
Okay.
part of it, but the second part of it is more so that it is remedying the unfair win condition placed on us because there is not in the jurisdiction.
The Carroll evidence also says things. Well, I guess like on case the Carroll evidence says things like imagination are bad. Why doesn't that link to the process of fiat?
Well, I strongly disagree. It says imagination without pragmatic goals of how to get there is bad. So it says that we should be
obviously,
focusing on
like you're
pragmatic
like nobody goes out and
solutions.
stops nuclear war with China. So like I'm just asking.
Right,
like,
but the
why
thing
Carroll-
is like policy affirmatives, for example, have material solutions about how to resolve their internal links, and they read evidence specific to whatever policy plan they propose, and have unique reasons why it's able to
Okay.
solve those internal links.
That makes sense. Okay, the topicality, this trivialization is that. Do you think that anti-blackness has never happened inside debate as a result of Team's reading framework?
Absolutely not. That's
Okay.
not our argument. Our argument is more so rather that our reading of topicality is different from like the usage of
Why?
PRL would
Do you
use it.
think you're different from like other debaters who also say like fairness, Clash? Like you all say the same things. Like,
I mean,
why-
since we are focusing more so on engagement, we would say yes, like that is a unique form.
I'm sending you one in our right now. The order is going to be the quantum relationality K, the cap K, or quantum relationality, the valid pick, and then case.
Wait, what was it?
Quantum relationality, valid pick, cap case.
Okay.
Let me know when everyone has it and is good. I'm just gonna use my photo.
There's cards.
Oh yeah, there's some.
CSU?
Quantum relationality can see the permission to test the competition, drop the thesis in the K that disproves limit economy is reasonable voting on presumption critiques of social structures, premise on cause and effect, obscure the influence of unobserved phenomena, microactors who solely make up macro political structures, rendering power relations like racism unidentified, impossible to remediate, which the Murphy evidence, yes, understandable. It's the complexity K. The battle pick can see the permanent offense picks was answered in the 2NC cap K, Tracy 1 counter column is good counter propaganda infinite 1. Revolutionary skills activism messaging from contradicting angles is hastily collectivized and influence those from different perspectives. 2 net flex not realistic, prepare one off strategies against every plan that's one to see. But an already huge limit only never swing the net block perspectives attention. Maximize the net block restraints to the Afghans based on hot first agency shift. Based on the 1 and C against last speech, 3 for loot dealings together the structure of competition makes first motivation impossible. If they either 1 and C they have to set aside their opinions negated, they have no counter model to resolve any of their offense for that or normal conditionality, which means there's no offense here. Next R 2 is all positive. I don't know what this was, so we get infinite new answers. Capitalism is dying. The only question is whether we're replaced by an alternative or pending fascism, voting covert extinction, global administration, one climate change, corporate profit motives, which the plan of fascist capacity, causes reserve wars and false empires worldwide. The question of scope and scale, shape, develop because the left has only a few years to produce communist power apparatus or let the world clash and burn as a result of oceanification, biodiversity, rising temperatures, and other terraforming that outweighs biological extinction, precludes the possibility of social death, and social change and outweighs on scope. 2 fascism and non-union setting office can see a world defined by absolute reign power, makes all interpersonal violence or worse. This is prior to fascism building a singular white supremacist vision of the world. 2AC3 counter drip. This is a method debate. The point for the best material strategy by framing scale alternative against the NEC. Prefer 1 marginalism, DH, 122 the game. That's the way we create medieval powers and the game in history has built a room that people rooms that we not choose the original. Apply the room where the powers inside of the resources and kind of actions differences specify lead capture even when we identify the power there is words outside power words affecting action social dynamics space and rooms advantage and listen words affecting us in the cold refugee collaborate the house and require the different approach people live in sauce on third no water section insecurity climate responsibility summary marshals botanic authority of whoever's in the room and appears in the category with oppression even organizations activists society one authority difference in other organizations in the room people affected stay outside cut the Taiwo card at outside 2 best models in the way to check back against F5 showing infinite and first last speed after the speed showing 4 is the perm group them 1 each links the dispatch 2 framework winning it brackets the perm above 3 limit now DH to the extent is wrong the perm is incompatible in this totality whether as our understanding of 4 struggles should start from difference with our fractions of the common party line 4 KVK base if they win they're good you should reject the perm on face because method entails exactly that was the perm we face the same logic they critique on topicality and as perm do after the all time frames or voter they still wait till Labor Day because labor created for the 1AC has already happened they engaging in vulgarity key there's no reason to say fuck that in the 1AC is key is the 1AC key for that or why the alternative brackets out organizers saying fuck this movement
Wait, sorry, my laptop just died. Hold on. Behind you at 3:30. Hold on. I'm just gonna sit here and do it and then wait for my laptop to boot up. Fuck, I thought I could live it out. I'm so sorry.
no you're fine
I was like, fuck, I got this.
What were we leave off at? Like, it was a very good time to talk right during the discussion.
Yeah, it was good. It was good.
Fuck that, Larry.
Yeah, we had that was some affect going on. Right, hold on, I should do it.
I had like 320.
I had 329, but we can give you 335 for my lack of charting skills. I'll give you an extra 6 seconds. It's fine. I don't care.
Sure. Okay.
I'm not. Hold on. Let me. It's still bleeding. Top Chan, please. Okay, I got it. Okay. This is not the time to not work.
Alright, we have time.
Please. Lock in. I'm about to give you 10 more. Hold on.
No, you're fine, trust me,
God.
I would love
You're
5
like, ask
extra
the
minutes.
judge.
Exactly.
Depending on what day for day, or something.
Oh man.
Does it show the
No, I think it's just like, maybe give it a second, because I keep like trying to open it right away, not dying a second life.
And that's very fair. Yeah.
I knew I should have just came over the fucking charts,
But we're trying to give you our space and everything.
please. I'll let it sit for another couple minutes, and then, or like 30 seconds.
I mean, it's like a charter that definitely works.
I think it works. I don't know if that's the issue, right? Because y'all's, that one works, right? Like, it's turning on.
This is not putting up.
Like, it is, but I'm trying to. Oh, okay, bet. Hold on. Oh my god, we're so back.
We're live.
This is huge. This is so huge. Okay, 1 second. I'm just reconnecting the Wi-Fi to be good. Type. Okay, we're good. I live. Okay, 336. Knock yourself out.
Alright, cool. Everyone good?
Wait, sorry, I gotta do the annoying beeping thing. Alright, have fun with your 7 seconds. Go.
Okay, sweet. There's no reason why the AFF is specifically key to say things like fuck that, and also not explain why it's a prerequisite to for.
Fuck, wait, okay, I'm so sorry. Why the fuck? What the fuck happened?
This is like a bit. I swear.
No, I swear to
I
God.
know. It's just funny.
Okay, this outlet does work.
Literally,
You're great.
This
Come
outlet
on,
works.
Chris,
This
come on.
outlet works. It's been charging mine. So I think,
Fuck.
what if you just...
I literally had it
what if
open.
you
It's
just
fucking trash.
tried it?
I'm gonna try both, Loki. Okay, why is my mouse back on, but now my laptop is? What? Okay. This has to be a joke, right? Somebody's hacking my shit. This must be the fucking Mossad hacking my shit, bro. There's no way.
Hey, Matt, the Wolverine hacking, right?
Dude, deadass. Okay, I'm gonna just let it like do its thing for a couple seconds before I touch it. It feels like every time I touch it, it starts to fucking crash. Sorry.
No, you're fine. I'm gonna play chess on my phone while.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm gonna give it like 2 minutes and it'll be good. I'm gonna munch these chips really quick. God damn it, laptop.
What's your elo in chess?
Impressive.
If you really want to know,
Yeah.
500.
Nah, you're chilling. I'm there too.
Yeah.
I'm really bad. Daniel always beats me.
Chess name is goated though. It's Dispo Solves.
Yeah.
True.
No, I literally used to not play chess anymore, and then when I got to college, my dad was like, I'm really bad at chess, but I really want to play with you. And I'm like, you know what? Fair enough. So I have like a 3-day game going with him all the time.
Yeah.
And like, I beat him every time, but
Okay.
it's always pretty fun.
Yeah, I think chess is cool.
I'm just gonna let it get some juice really quick. That's why I know I've been doing this for too long. It's not me the hang of that one. Well, it's good. Okay, I'm at 3%. Let me get to 5. We'll be good.
It's a good round number.
Hmm?
It's a good like round number.
Yeah, my lucky number is 7. A fun fact is that when I was in 2nd grade, there was like this pumpkin counting competition. I forgot what we had to measure. I measured something. It was like how tall was the pumpkin, and I guess like 7. And apparently my guess was like exactly on 7, so I won the pumpkin. So I've been like using 7 like religiously ever since.
Has it brought you luck?
I would say so, yeah. I'm pretty like superstitious, low key, so it definitely helps. Okay, fuck it, 4%. We're gonna rock. I should be good. Low key, if this shit crashes again, I'm just gonna like look at Daniel's laptop and just have Daniel freestyle that shit.
Alright.
We're good. I have a 331.
Okay, cool. Everyone good?
Yep.
Cool.
There's no reason why the 1AC was is specifically key for any of that. There's no reason why this why the alternative does not bracket organizers. So I'm saying fuck that. Next, the next argument is does negate the AFF. Labor within debate is inevitable. The 1AC was able to be constructed in the anti-black debate space. It's not that everyone has equal labor to contribute, but the 1AC proves that we should organize labor in a good way. Now, next argument is crackdown true frames on sustainability makes blocks inevitable. Only way avoiding going to extinction and it's irrelevant. However, one people's militia muscles when too crucial. Issues control of our society violence and meet their differences. The struggle of revolution, people defense the revolution should be the same work economic organization, development, work, and militia draw for the president exploited majority. Peaceful transition is worthy of the nominating change. Introduction to the action of World War III, but not no ground transition that they can global peace movement that knowledge should provide if not capitalism organizing carries the knowledge not the card cut that not be card add knowledge. Next argument is infiltration. This is unwarranted answer by Monopoly. They were just so what's the risk at all. Next argument is accountability, which I'll answer here. They're for me issues. They have no way to ensure accountability for their movement, but we do. The alternative solves it. Also declaring the negotiation party line and a party ordinance to stand for apparatus or some revision by independent review words where black people avoided voting and determined the party line. Other examples. So public self-reading holding for public forces that result the office component of this the redlining stuff is about voting generally, not voting within the party, which means it's not applicable. The alternative fails the status quo. Is wrong. Put the alternative debate up here in vote negative for no party communist organizing a larger practice of vertically oriented dual power organization that brings theory and praxis to communities for global movement that crisis issues of provide food, water, and essentials for the people. And this land resistance. This land people groups like the Revolution Collective in New York, the African People's Social Party in Florida, Freedom Road, Social Organization. They build with power through reparations, food distribution, etc., which creates collective solidarity, not the status quo. Those things are insufficient, but things like base building should be used for a new communist party. Now, debate is good in the voter group them. It's a link to make link is energy solely focusing on cultural inclusion within the neoliberal university requires the labor of those who directly engage in debate and outside of those outside such as debaters and grad students, coaches, etc. Those calls for inevitably trade-off. But finding possibilities for neutral power because the labor used within this space it cannot be used outside of it because it's finite. Mussolini and Cortazzelli evidence property needless and energy is finite, and that we should focus towards liberating those who allow us to be in the room in the first place, like those who run the tournament, cater our food, clean the building, etc. The voter is wrong. We are not positing that black labor is fungible. We're not positing that black labor should be fungibilized, rather all labor that we collectively have should be channeled, i.e. those who cannot labor should not, but those who can should towards a better tomorrow. But it's always on ethical scope, which is above the alternative. It solves case one, white workers hating black people. Drop root cause on case you can bring that here, white labor is only accepting racial hierarchy because they wanted a rupture of their servitude, but engagement with labor lowers the cost of racial solidarity, which breaks down racial hierarchies. There's some bright evidence means that the alternative is a prerequisite for that reform. Two structures we agree the alternative solves the 1AC. Zalua evidence also agrees to insert their evidence in yellow below. The next argument was the I have Escalante alt here, which is meaningless. We should get new arguments if they explain it. Next argument was the DSA does not exist. Marxist Center, it says that those things are insufficient and bad. The AFF is not electoral politics, which means links to the DSA stuff. That was the last thing on the slogan case. The bidinality has no basis in reality, even if it's not a win condition. It certainly nukes the only potential deficit alternative. One, falsifiability. Neurological studies cannot control for confounding variables. There's no brand line for what constitutes libidinal drive. So it's possible to prove existence to explainability. Other factors like socioeconomic status, location, and personal variability. All explanation violence, filling gaps in Kubota and Golfin for contingency is much better. Explanation for racism, psychic drives, and shapes how institution effectively shape bias is more credible. Is no more credible than creationism or homeopathy theory of 21 pseudo. Science the advantage of not needing falsifiability. Science is episodically working to be understood. Not the academic science. The methodology be recognized by Islamic science that homeopathy. Creationist politics would not be turned into science. It is the next argument was too political answer by all the studies which outweighs on consensus. They said they read neuroscience as the sample size stuff is self-referential, which means you should reject it. We have reshaped bias stuff. Only the alternative challenge to institutions applying it to macro political fails. Carter 25 second line of theory because the article of fate. Cut the Carter at article of fate.
9:31.
Yeah. Here's the plan, my love. I'm going to finish this page and we'll talk about the other thing.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, 9:31. Made 50 picks.
Yeah.
Thanks.
You said there was a voter, by the way, in the webinar. Like, do we link to this labor dissent or something?
I don't think so. We said that the voter on the labor link was wrong.
Okay.
What more time do you need?
Just give me like 30 seconds.
Okay, 11 minutes after.
Yeah, just need to upload these things. Alright, I'm good. 5:26. Alright, no problems. Actually, I forgot one thing. Hold on. 1 second. Alright, 5, 6. Cool. The order is case. The ballot pick. The quantum relationality K. Or the complexity K. I don't know what it's called. Cap K. And then framework. Alright, is everybody good?
Wait, how much time do we have left?
5:16.
5:52.
Yeah.
Why are we going to the quantum shit?
Uh,
We need to? I don't think we do. It's like the complexity case, it's like the second step for arguing.
Bro, this is prep.
I'm taking prep.
Oh, you are? Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. No, I have to answer it. They said like some structural argument.
Yeah,
I just need an answer.
that's a
Trust me,
okay, fuck it. Sure, 5-1. Wait. 5-1.
Okay. Now we're all good, I assume. Okay. Cool. All right. No cards. Yeah.
This is a debate about debate white nihilism and spirit murder, ways affirming white value systems, cause lashdown exploitation, devalue black name through psychological ways, creating spirit murder, metaphysical, islamism, eugenication, justifies political policing and killing black people, inside the debate, killing their spirit, vote after black nihilism, voting down, achieving just creating an act, spiritual creative response to psychological ways through fugitive habits, through a vulgar performance of the one to say fuck that government is, I've already fight back against the Christian inside and outside debate, now scale, yes, voting outside assaults, violence, and debate for the reasons above, they drop things like striking slurs, inclusion in debate, all prove empirics, now family, school, family, friends, us, and solves, as some of us have a conversation with our family and still don't understand the things we learn inside debate, which means we spend way more time here than talking about Afro-pessimism than with our grandma. Now the Carol evidence, Carol says imagination, utopia is bad, and he says the cap gay. And Frederick says, hey, imagine a party that doesn't exist, proving their model debate is worse for skills, but we're not just a blatant imagination. We have said this debate round, which means that you could tangibly solve our impacts now. Labor law, there's argument of labor law 0-1, Trump is the president now, which proves labor law is impossible to remove. A fascist stance, he has things like fiat unreal, 2, work is inevitable. Work inevitable isn't our offense, but voting neg leashes off, and the labor stuff that we have passed, but also drop that you cannot change the state, but you can change the state of debate, which means that by proximity does it definitely flows out. No empathy because Trump is the president. Now there's all the evidence they drop that it flows negative, and that flows out because our evidence posed theirs, which means that there's no takebacks, but also they drop they drop the stuff I did above about the state, but also they can't solve any of their offense because we have made a specific critique of labor while Zala is about the state in the abstract, which means they kind of detach it from all of their favorite offense. Now they said black nihilism fails, no, drop the rehighlight and proves that we solve our offense. They said no libidinal drive, they dropped the Chico evidence, things like the crack cocaine distinction, police brutality, and the welfare queen drop against white women. I'll prove that there are things that precede economics, which also can be cross-applied to the cap gate. As we reason why we solve their offense, they also drop that their evidence as IET, and that proves drives as well, but also we don't have neuroscience stuff, which means it doesn't link back to their stuff and say it's also anti-black, which proves that those biases are not actually good proves we are not neuroscience, but no sample size also means that they can't solve any of their offense. Now they said contingency, disproven above by our libidinal economy thesis. They said pseudoscience wrong because we contested through empirics, which means it's verifiable and answers their stuff. They said self-referential and doesn't answer it above. Now go to the ballot pick. Picks our voting issue. The pick is a white value system that steals black labor. Drop this says that it's just stand on its own, which is an example. It says vote next to state racism is true, but deny black and nihilism prayers that causes spirit murder is proof that anti-blackness cross-apply that. It's a framework. Now the quantum relationality K, the conceit of the permutation, which means there's no offense on this, which means we can engage structures and macro-political whatnot. So we solve all their offense. Now go to the cap K. They said a condo. They said they get infinite condo that causes 21 off ABC spec against minority debaters. That's worse for clash. Obviously says it fuels their offense and it says racist and justifies negatives and rejects team says it can make Netflix through black people makes Netflix makes black people fungible, which answers all their condo good stuff. They also dropped the fiat K on the cap K because our interpretation is that this debate is whoever has the best political commitment and to challenge anti-blackness in this space because they dropped that your ballot does not actualize a party, which means they cannot solve their offense. Now perm to both black nihilism is key within movements. And they said this by they proved this by saying that things like vulgarity are polluted by the alternative, which means that we can definitely do both. And perm to the definitely and the all definitely solves now net benefits spiritual prayer because things like saying fuck guys, fuck police, etc. Governance is energy, solidarity, and empathy, which is a conceited link turn against herself, which means we're exportable outside of debate and challenge the neoliberal university. And the alternative fails due to crackdown, PSL, DSA, and more can't solve. They get crowded out due to elections, which means the transition doesn't happen peacefully. And Mamdani also now proves infiltration and counterinsurgency by supporting the cops. All prove that they can't solve any of their offense. Now the Escalante stuff, they dropped that. And speed is ableist because it sacrifices black people with disabilities, means that there's no accountability inside the party, which means they can't solve their offense. Theory already answered it above scope and scale. And they dropped that speed is racist, answer this above tribal elite capture stuff. And not elite capture because we prevent that. But they also linked to that framework. They said methods debate are good, yes, permutations because no link plus all is an equity condition, which ruins clash. Now go to framework. Go to also we break because they dropped the university. We break from the university because LBS and Dave on love. Now a framework counter or vote after black nihilism in this debate. GMU should negate us but not police us. And yes, there is a difference. Reject them for policing liquidation. This have no such thing as model. Proven by how Ashley said I can't force all teams to read the policy arguments, which means that they have conceded the premise of our arguments. Limits do not exist. A model debate does not exist. More importantly, your ballot cannot actualize a model proved by different arguments and styles of debate, i.e. Kansas reads this at Michigan's brief process, etc. means it can't solve ethical localism. I dropped that we made arguments about community norms and community engagement for black insurgent argumentation, which means we solved the dissad. Now fairness one, why nihilism dissad using unfairness as an excuse. Racial response that seeks to reward GMU with psychological wages to devalue black people with badges of inferiority. And now youth busting dissad says that we should deny the legacy of Louisville, Tucson, Rutgers, Wake, Emporia, and more. You can't just recognize them and vote negative because they would have justified voting negative and erasing their existence from debate. Now 3, no impact, nobody leaves after losing to chaos. 1-5, OC's Franklin Cruz drop, no impact of the fairness, no paradox, due to just like John Kosulas and then Bryce Rowe, which means we can't solve unfairly voting negative after they have been racist and obviously structurally unfair causes a spirit murder. Now the ballot stuff, I dropped the empiric stuff I did above. It solves community norms. Now KVK debates, we don't have to defend KVK debates. Drop plans are not key, proved by Iowa, Tucson, and Boria and more, which proves that even clash absent analytics proving that there's an incentive outside of topicality doesn't solve any of our offense. Now they said he's not in a position. Yes, it is. It's in a balanced position, non-negotiation. Since they are forcing the policies of the hegemonic PRL, which justifies violence. I.e. it says no white people let black people vote, so no, there is no more KKK, which is racist dog to do more violence. They said impact on the resolution is bad. We're winning larger impacts on why your model debate is bad, which always. As topicality says we're winning that racism makes it impossible for black debaters. Now a clash. One psychological wages. This time they just handled our offense because they said cap is bad. We have conceded that and straight turn clash is reason for whether endpoint research is bad because it causes bargaining and it causes people to invest in racial capitalism that exploits black people to justify any black life and trades off with interrogating labor. Now the mastery dissent and justifies master versus slave dichotomies inside debates to devalue black critical argumentation, side and lose for styles they don't agree with or affirm it, which causes psychological violence and terraforming dissent. It justifies things like the other way racism at the pink line means they can't solve. Now the switch side debate, yes, bargaining table dissent, they drop that. The people that say extinction always moot case about rest, retrace, etc. and civility this time because it says that black critical debaters would be uncivil. By reading this argument on the AFF, which causes psychological violence, the CDA, liquidation, and this time Malcolm X, etc. MLK is the example of how you should never trust white people, which Bruce, you should reject the state. They dropped out the CDA, distorts black nihilism to uphold hegemonic humanism with conscious things like counterinsurgency, i.e. Obama throwing Jeremiah on the bus for becoming too radical and too logic. You cannot be nihilistic and optimistic and policy making, so the CDA is incompatible on the level of literature and theory. Oh, okay, look, this debate is very easy to resolve because it actually conceded the premise of the BRK against models when they said they cannot enforce a model on other K teams at CEDA.
first, and then answering condo, and then the pick, framework, and case.
Wait, my bad. I need that one more time.
Cap, it's going to be like cap proper first, and then condo at the very bottom, and then the pick, framework, case.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Very good.
It is tried to identify another day. We only have 10 years to finish the revolution, which is the only way to create new social systems that are built in a relationship that sustain broad life. Capitalism accelerating the planet towards existential collapse, the fascist takeover, two key effects of the Afghan solve, A, Islam change profit. Voters are currently pushing the planet past capacity, making resource wars impossible on price inevitable. This frame, you're about to solely focus on the scope and scale of impacts. We are winning that we only have few years to produce a communist sole party, otherwise ocean acidification, biodiversity loss, rising temperatures, making extinction inevitable. Bees, fascism, our world is becoming increasingly controlled by absolute right-wing power. Trump or win, near to one, I'll prove accessibility will never be an option in a world where the alt-right has open access, creating a singular white supremacist version of the world, which also takes out the speed offense. This makes a try or die NEG because spirituality and prayer are impossible in a world under Trump. The 2AR is going to sound very persuasive and like they challenge capitalism, but the lack of link defense of the 1AR means you're very skeptical. But the middle point of their politics. Now, framework at the top rotation, top. This is the methods we vote for. Those material strategy by weighing the scale alternative against the 1EC. Drop the marginalization DA. It comparatively outweighs the case on an ethical scope because we have the most ethical responsibility to liberate the countless billions dispossessed by capitalism from lack of food, water, shelter, etc. This is typo evidence. Now the PFK drop. This will say answer to the drop. This will say answer to the 2EC, so we get infinite new answers. But even if it was, we answered by saying that we should find strategies to liberate the outside. At worst, it's try right because the link is perception level question. Now the permutation, you cannot tell me what the net benefit to the perm is if you cannot vote because the 1AR has not explained what it looks like. Drop that the alternative solves case, which means that any risk of the DA and link are true, so automatic valid, but the perm is also zero. Drop the liminality data that it's incompatible in its totality because we have different starting points of how we should organize given the way C has dependent liminality and we do not. It's fractures. The parliamentary comrades don't know what to engage in. Winning framework also practices permutation because it's about competing methods. Perm G alternative was also answered because it still links to the labor stuff done on the link debate. Now spiritual prayer is taken out by the labor link because it directly trades off of the revolution link. Now the link, there is absolutely no defense on the link of the 1AR, which means you do not let the 2AR reinvent the wheel and you absolutely do not let them get an explanation of the perm and the 2AR. The framing issue for the link is that we're winning labor is both finite and real for all currently in the room, which is the only potential defense they have to link debate. Debate is a room of privilege that billions cannot access, which doesn't fix the count its violent nature, but does mean the labor we have should be used to improve outside the room. Drop the structures. I'm going to drop the structures that shape outside the room, i.e. racial capitalism, directly structure the room we are currently in from constraining access to coaches, and travel code budgets, and other structural inequities that exist on the T page as an answer to fairness. It's typo evidence. The obligation that we have to liberate those countless billions outweighs striving for a comfortable inclusion within debate. Debate is a site of labor with external influence, and what we do here matters. Obviating the collective work required to imagine a just future renders tactics trapped in debate as we focus our finite energy on making the debate space, not the world, a better place, i.e. the labor to create a voice state should be channeled to liberate countless billions outweighs in terms of case. One is centralization. The billions or centralized by capitalism outweigh on ethical scope. Two is structures. The 1AR cold drops the condition. Now if there are structured the conditions in here, it's an independent resumption ballot, and zero is the ballot proximity to ER because the only way to challenge racist norms in debate is through the party. The only possible answer to typo is not only capture, we prevent that, which is definitely not the link about labor. Not the alternative is dropped insult to banality. This is GG. White laborers only accepted racial hierarchy because they wanted a rupture of their servitude, but engagement with labor lowers the cost of racial solidarity between workers, prevents breakdown, misconceived racial hierarchies. The bright evidence this means the only reason white workers engage in irrational things is because those racial hierarchies aren't being broken now, which the alt solves too. It's all structures drop. So it agrees that racial capitalism structures anti-blackness, which means that you must vote NEG, for the dual party organizing. All connects local movements to a larger project, building a vertically oriented or oriented communist dual power organization, which arms the communities with theory and practice to build a global decolonial movement that requires building institutions to provide resources like daycare, food, water, so they can have their basic needs, misplaced their reliance on capital. Now the work I did above about how the alt solves case, and there is absolutely no 2AR because Azula says that quote-unquote racism thrives in the depoliticizing hands of economic reason. Competition often pits one racialized groups along against the other, which explains the reason why things like gratuitous violence happens. Think back to examples of the two and the 1NR, like Freedom Road, Socialist Organization, African People's Social Party, Florida. Their method of communal parenting and organizing shows that can generate solidarity across differences and resolves all their opposite. We crowd out discussions about individual political realities like prayer. Now the accountability stuff, it flows NEG, drop that we don't have any, it's inevitable. They did not answer any of the arguments on internal review being able to solve ableism and racism in voting lines. All their words about why it's not cases because violent people can get into the party. This is not responsive to the examples that we give in the starting in 1 and C class. It's about internal review, which will kick the people out of the party and shun them if they are violent in any way. Now, in condo interpretation, we get infinite condo gets untopical as one is revolutionary scales drops. Escape from classifying different perspectives that outweighs because this debate is solely about revolutionary strategy as impacted out above. 2 is Netflix. Only diversification allows them to test the app from numerous angles. Is key debate getting in the in-depth debate they want to have about whether black and liberal nihilism is good or bad. It's not making them fungible because the role of the NEG is to disprove the app, which only our model allows for. And then one year to not extend the counter model, which means they're unable to resolve their offense and have no way to resolve ours. Now the pig. Crossfly the pig, bad answers from the T float. They have conceded that us not extending the peg into the block resolves their offense and doesn't cause fear of murder because we are allowing the value of the 160 ounce own. And that is a logical extension conditionality, which means if you buy that, we get 100% framework. We'll concede their interpretation resolves all their offense because we are going for a competing strategy about how to best liberate black people in and out of the debate space. Now, case black nihilism fails on both to the link of the cap case. This has 2 implications. 1, winning it fails proves investing in a distraction of energy towards combating capitalism, improving the link and taking out any perm. 2 acts as an independent case turn, meaning you cannot vote because they make movement towards spirituality impossible. They conceded the warrants from all of the cards talking about how it causes hopelessness and sentimentalism, which is incompatible with the movement broader because it means that we will never be able to fight for another world because they think the world is always, it will always be what it is now, which is impossible. They just, the only response to the 1 year that we dropped, the re-highlighting is completely not true. The re-highlighting is in context of saying what black nihilists think, i.e. ending the white world. We are critiquing that view of ending the white world and saying that we should push for better things. But liminality, I don't need to spend much time here because they conceded 2 key framing issues. 1, explainability. Other factors like socioeconomic status, location, personal variability, all explain racial bias without filling in the gaps. Computer and golf, and this answer is cheat code. 2 is explainability. Those other factors are better explanations of racism than second tries that use evidence institutions. Death blow neg because the only way to challenge them is through the alternative as I explained above. The rest of the 1 year answers are wrong. We've given non-neuroscience reasons why it fails and why labor analytic is better, which is above, because the only reason to explain why Europeans were also held as slaves, which is all the explanation I gave above. Now look at the end of the debate. They conceded the link indeed on method debate, and also banality means there's not a possible 2AR that doesn't go for anything else that doesn't sound completely new, especially with the case turn.
Come here, friend.
I'm heading over.
Okay.
501.
501 starting now. Yeah, put that on top. Yeah.
Oh,
Yes, you sent that.
oh wait, oh, it had an answer to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I'll do it at the top.
It's case and give you Nicholas. Sweet.
Not say Spearburger once went to checkmate. Spearburger turns out wins the cap game here. When they have the ideology of organizing through their mob debate, create psychological violence against the labor of black debaters in this space by casting black nationalism as inferior, not political enough, and even mastery, which requires liquefying black people or to criminalize them and mold them into the party, which are systems of white value systems that rely on their destruction. We're willing to voting for GMU, create a model of debate in a party that sees black conservative argumentation as criminal, lazy, or threatening to white informed organization, which causes racialized violence in debate. This is a logical cross-application for framework that the 2 drop that outweighs because Spearburger means that black debaters not feel comfortable showing up to organize in the first place. Since then, you have to see the golfing evidence that says that once you Spearburger, black debaters via the cap keep writing, never without negotiation, collaborate is an unequal imposition because it proves that black debaters feel disempowered, hate crime, and devalued, proving not show up to debate or organize in the first place. Spearburger and spiritual prayer that benefits solve the majority of their office because saying fuck that is key to create energy for things that we solve external to the debate, i.e. saying fuck ICE, etc. is what forms the movement of political energy, which all requires energy through our nihilistic approach. But refusing that means that we become performers, i.e. not being able to say fuck Trump proves they devolved down the movement. They can see that this is a key to link to create empathy, solidarity, and the answer to all the arguments about holiness being bad because we are what allows for the working class to not become anti-black and engage in revolt to refuse anti-black violence. The lawyer said this gives them out of the neoliberal university and radical engagement to prove that we also allow the our moral debate and our nihilism generating people like Dave on Love and LBS, which is the only example of an abolition institution you have in this debate. So into the AFF ballot. Now, ballot proximity, mishandled. The argument, no cross-application for framework in the campaign. Well, they are ability NEG cannot create the party. They drop that when you cast your ballot is not create the party. You know ability to have constitutional energy, which is the key prerequisite will prove. You know that the debate is absolutely a crush because we have an uncontested link turn that solves in our ways to critique and justify the purpose of the method meeting because we have a reason why we shield the link. It's not really linked to the app, so you know our method just outweighs. So it's just about what we can do inside this debate. If you think it's valuable to endorse, organizing, you know that voting app must be the starting point. Now, go after a black nihilistic prayer. They drop that voting down GMU is key because they create spiritual prayer and energize black debaters by telling them that their labor is valid and access the affirming strike, which is key to all their movement building stuff. First argument is that using energy to solve violence is impossible. They have dropped the link turner, which proves definitely above. Also, they link back. They say hopelessness is incompatible with the movement. Drop, we're not just hopelessness. We bring in that spiritual energy. Proves we have a link turner. They say no libidinal drive. Your evidence can see libidinal drive to IEC test, which is that insert that 2EC did. Which proves that there's 2 implications because it says that there are underlying IET tests that associate black people with bad, criminal, etc. There are 3 implications. One, they cannot go for a cap case solve because they have conceded that Trump is currently molding institutions would make bias inevitable. They have not had a claim for why the alternative, just the Jedi mind trick people to not be racist, which proves that you know that voting negative embraces racist social discourse. That supercharged our spirit impacts means that their affirmation of the cap case through fiat and legal solutions will be racist ones that see black people as criminals. Secondly, it proves that they've conceded that the absolute bill of tribe is not a win condition because it does not disprove racism. That's dropped. That proves you know that voting apps still solve our impact even despite us winning the bill of economies or releasing the economies. But you definitely do know that we're willing to link to that the prerequisites to organizing. That also they dropped every warrant for the Chico evidence that disproves economic causality being the only reason why people are anti-black, i.e. police still shoot black people even though they know it's dangerous to their job or can get them fired. We definitely prove there are alternative motives that are not just the economic ones because people do shit that's anti-black even if it does not economically make sense to prove we know we're just winning an argument that crushes them on this thing, which is all obviously false. Okay, the cap K. I'm going to 200 drop the psychological wages to for framework. Every argument above why I've won the bill of economy is good should supercharge the answer to the cap K. A reason for organizing will be anti-black. The psychological wages to have. Affirming class struggle justifies anti-blackness because workers consent to anti-capitalist systems in order to gain psychological and material wages, which prove they exploit black people to party. Method debate will be answered here. They dropped that method debate failed because they said we should let the negative get away with saying no link and alt, which is worse for clash in turn of method debate. They said they care about clash on the cap K on the framework we should cross by here. They were so light on this. They dropped every reason why I should grant the permutation because we made reasons across the flow for why they're not mutually exclusive. I dropped the layer example that the one I said we not preclude vulgarity. It means that part of the app still exists. The alternative ends the win condition. Now the alternative. I want you to skim your flow, Nicholas. You do not know what the alternative does post the 2 and R. They just said that there's a bunch of reasons why they solved the mentality option not true because we're really never their all causes. They never made an argument for why they detangle system race capitalism. They not understand what the party demands, what it looks like, who is involved, etc. They don't know how many people are required to engage the party. They don't know what policy to advocate for. It proves that they definitely do get watered down because they reject vulgarity, drop examples of monopoly to prove they still support the police once they get inside the state, and devolve down anti-capitalism. Just in the capitalism recreates more capitalist violence proofs they cannot solve. It's not mutually exclusive with the AFF. Okay, the link there is just no NEG ballot. There's no reason why we on the link. There's no reason why we depoliticize, but rather we bring groups together per all our evidence above to prove that vulgarity is a key from link to solidarity through prayer. No, also the link is wrong. You have to say that I believe for Calcium Lobby since vulgarity is key for explorable action, and Jamie you cannot because they fail in Spirit Brother. You should ask yourself literally what is linked. There is none. They're not why other than we have not done party organizing, and they prove that nothing about the alternative can stop exploitation for grad coaches, students, etc. Because they have no reason for the alternative will solve those things. Which proves that try to die for the alternative. The capitalism college teacher not a winner because they cannot solve it. Because they drop fiat is fake. Nothing about believing affirmative solve extinction, but it does solve Spirit Brother framework is already done above. Because the only method is KPK debate. Okay, marginalization, this is wrong. It's not. It's just about what we do in this debate because of the battle proximity arguments I done above. But if you do think that marginalization is bad, that saying fuck that response can only help marginalized community to prove they cannot solve any other offense. Okay, the fiat case. I'm going to extend the evidence here because the reason why fiat policies is more unreasonable because it allows us to fiat away racism, create a random party that does not exist to prove that they're worse for skills and cause more spirit murder because it causes psychological violence and prove they cannot solve any of the offense. Same theory causes fragmentation. No, it's not allows for solidarity through the method and perm definitely does shield the link. Proving the topicality or that framework is definitely more unreasonable. And fiat is more unethical. It creates more worse activists. Definitely prove the permutation solved because we're willing a reason for it. That after the prerequisite, they say spiritual prayer trade off liberation. Obviously not true. Labor is fine that, but you should use the ballot to affirm our labor because nothing about building negative for the cupcake can do their labor argument to prove that nothing about how their alternative can solve things like outside strategies, tropical, etc. Because we do a person debate on power opportunity and spiritual always. You should go take a walk. I'm gonna start prepping for this.
Let me know if you need.
finish high school though, so we can kind of be as constructive as possible. Here, that's hard.
100%.
Daniel is on their way.
I definitely feel like large conflict. I got the
Yeah, I have a couple of teams that like when I was judging on high school, like for like when we were in high school, they would just like prep me super high because they're like, even if you go down my kids, you're gonna tell me exactly what they did wrong. Like, I accept your preference. Oh, thank you.
I should session on our way.
Sure.
Yeah.
What do I want?
Boom. Hey.
So she's 16. She was bitter after the ABT grad.
Dude,
She was not happy.
I just stayed out the way. I was like,
all
dude.
4 of her losses were 2-1s. So, that's what happened.
Yeah, I know better. Whenever she's mad, I'm just like, I'm just gonna.
Oh, I steer clear, bro.
Yeah, I
and
know.
I'm her dad.
Okay, I think we're all good.
Yep. Alright, well, this was a really, really good round. I feel very privileged to judge it, and in the end, I do vote for the affirmative. I begin with the fiat pay and framework here. I think for me, the 2NR needs to do more to engage with the question of like the role or function of the debate space. The kind of big picture for my RFP here is I do think you implicated on the link level, right, when you were talking about, you know, the way in which CAP shapes like structural unfairness in the activity. What I'm missing from y'all is the second layer of analysis regarding like how your method functions in this activity in a way that I can reconcile with like ballot proximity and scope and scale. What I need is arguments about like debate is a site for line struggle, right? And then arguments like tracing that directly to like spill up, you know, and scale up, right? And I do have arguments from y'all about like, you know, debate or place to imagine a just future, but I'm missing some of the like internal link work about how I get from A to B. So I guess more granularly, the app makes its arguments on like method to method framework, right? Fiat is good, so it's try or die define strategy. And the power marginalization is that, which I largely explained as like having to liberate the most amount of people possible. I think I need more texture on both of these. The issue here, I am persuaded broadly by the app in light of these cross apps from T that my ballot is unable to really resolve anything outside of this round, and how that, you know, could possibly solve scope and scale. I do, however, think that my ballot can alleviate the spirit murder and psychological weighted arguments, which are like the main pieces of app offense that I end up getting my hat on. This also, more generally, aside from this, is like a, you know, frameworky type question, implicates what I think about like fault solvency. In terms of, you know, I guess like my ballot resolving this. I am, you know, a little bit skeptical of the new, if perhaps, you know, not entirely incorrect QAR arguments that the alt is vague. But I do have like much more grounded questions about like how the alt scales up solves this. Aside from that, okay, case. Two arguments here on black nihilism is demotivating. I do think the app is ahead here for me. I need more specifics on like this vulgarity argument being wrong, right? Like the energy generation being wrong. Like as in why vulgarity is not sufficient to overcome the indites about black nihilism. You know, like perhaps leads to an inward turn, why these solidarity and equity arguments are incorrect. With respect to the libidinality question, I don't think that I need to decide this issue to get to a permutation ballot. I think this is probably a bit closer for me. I do kind of look at some of the case debate for like the last few rebuttals, and it's, you know, I think either team could do more to kind of adapt and respond on some of this in greater depth. But I ultimately think it's not like dispositive for my ballot. So shifting back to the K, NEG obviously, gets the cap impacts, but it's a question of differential solvency. It is conceivable to me that y'all perhaps could get the root cause, but I don't think that, whether you do or whether you don't, I still think the permutation is net beneficial here. The 1AR is short on the link, but the 1AR is also like really thorough on the energy arguments on case, right, that are really, really well developed. And the problem is, I think, when you collapse down in the 2NR, those pieces of offense become really live in a way that CAP, struggles to deal with it. So the primary link arguments, right, CAP structuring in ground unfairness, labor is finite, this trades off with debate as a site of imagination. I think the valid stuff implicates all of this. The affidavit can make the debate sort of very small in that way, in a way that I think is tough. And then also, I think the energy generation arguments on case, let them sort of, not manufacture, but like access what is functionally a link firm, that there is a way that they get energy generation through black practice. Permutation, given all the above, I think the permutation is probably net beneficial. The biggest piece of NEG offense here that I spend the most time thinking about is the libidinality of this ad. Because I don't have like a super great answer for this. But I do think like, some of this like, I think like to an extent, maybe term shields and the app argument about like vulgarity leading to solidarity are good enough here. And, in the alternative, right, that there is app offense about like, psychological wages, white workers consenting to capitalism so that they get a badge of superiority relative to black folks, etc. So I think, the app is net beneficial. There is, at least some inroads onto this link term, and this is all framed for me by the big picture, kind of fiat-based arguments.
I'm gonna get pizza really quick while they're answering questions.
Very good.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I'm also going to try to be